Hi folks, and welcome to an all-new episode of Imagination Nature, the first episode of 2019, and I'm very excited to say a special episode. Folks, I've been filming this, it's hard to believe, I've been filming Imagination Nature now for 5 years, it'll be this year. And I've been so excited, very pleased to be able to bring some education of our local species of wildlife and marine life here on the eastern end of Long Island and bring that right to you in your living room to give you a better idea of the importance of compassion for our wildlife rather than find ways to try to eliminate them for being a nuisance in our life. They are all very important pieces of our ecosystem, and they are living things. And we need to help them and we need to care for them just as we would each other. A couple of weeks ago, I went down to Orlando, Florida, and visited with an amazing group of people, much like our wonderful folks here at Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center. I visited with Orlando's Back to Nature Wildlife Refuge. So please sit back, enjoy this all new for 2019, our first and our 22nd episode celebrating our 5th year of Imagination Nature. Sit back and enjoy. Thank you. Good morning, folks. I'm here with you in sunny, beautiful Orlando, Florida. I'm driving just a little bit south of Orlando this morning. I'm going to meet up with some very special folks. I'm taking you on a little visit with a fantastic organization, the Back to Nature Wildlife Refuge. Really some special stuff going on here, folks, and I'm very excited about this episode because I traveled a long way to come down and meet with these awesome folks who has been gracious enough to invite me to come take a closer look at some of the wonderful things they're doing here at their wildlife refuge in Central Florida. I am here at Back to Nature Wildlife Refuge. I'm here with the director, Debbie Helschel, and we're here to talk about this wonderful place. Debbie, I really appreciate you allowing me to come visit with you today, and I want you to talk a little bit about Back to Nature.
Sure. We started back in, well, we were incorporated, let me say. We were incorporated in June of 1989. So we've been around for quite a while. Our founder, Carmen Shaw, she actually started doing rehab when she was about 8 years old. There weren't rehabilitators when she was young. And so, it was a good old boys and everybody just kind of did their part, and she just kind of continued to do it, and people found out that she was doing this stuff and started bringing it to her. But she and her husband had an automotive garage. As time went on, they had an automotive garage and they lived behind it on property. And Carmen took care of the animals inside the house. And eventually, there were so many that they just trickled out of the house and into the yard. And it kind of turned into a facility. And so, of course, the children, everybody had to help. It kind of was a family affair, which is what it turns into for all of us, too, because we drag our families in to help, too.
Right.
So they kind of know once we're here, the rest of the family is probably obligated at some point to help with something. So, and we're not shy about saying we need extra help.
Now, how did you get involved? Because I know it's a little bit of a special story.
Well, Carmen had been doing it for close to 40 years before I met her. Okay. So a really long time. And I started working for our local animal control. I worked in a spay-neuter clinic. And one of the first things that I was told was that I could be working directly with Carmen Shaw and Back to Nature.
Oh, wow.
And so I, of course, went, oh my gosh, I know that name, I know that place. And within one day, one of my new supervisors actually put me in her car and she took me out there. And when we got there, it was just like, I felt like I was home. And I never left. Weekends, my holidays, my vacation time, when somebody knows that they have a calling and they find that, you don't look back. Very
enlightened to hear you speak of this and get emotional like that, because I know exactly how you feel. It's an amazing feeling to be able to help these creatures, which in most cases, and especially when they need help, are helpless.
Right.
They're innocent animals, and a lot of the problems that they face are due to human intervention.
Absolutely.
So whether it be from habitat loss or from vehicles or just
Well, a lot of times
not
it's-
respecting
right, it's
wildlife.
ignorance a lot of times,
Ignorance,
and there's just a lot of people that just, it's not that they're uneducated, but they are in some ways because they just haven't been exposed to the information.
Absolutely.
And once people are exposed to it and they understand it more, then maybe they will try to do something to change their thought process. And a lot of times, honestly, it takes an animal to make that impact on them, that they may not have ever considered anything until they had the opportunity to either meet one of our educational ambassadors, but an animal has never touched their lives in the way that a lot of it does when people bring us animals or come to our events and get involved in things, and they see things from a different perspective, I think.
Sure.
Now, we do take in animals from Animal Services, not only our Orange County, but Osceola County now, where we're at, but we would always get from Fish and Wildlife, from the Sheriff's Department, Fire Department. You know, we have a lot of other governing agencies as well as the general public that would bring us animals to take care of. And we used to do rescues a long time ago, but we've just gotten so big and there's so many animals that we would spend all our time doing that. We would get nothing done and nobody would be helped. So, you know, we encourage people to bring them to us.
Do you have a vet here that works with you?
Well, I'm the licensee, so
Okay.
I'm the licensed rehabilitator, and with my background in surgery,
Yeah.
and also with the vast quantity of veterinarians that I've worked with throughout the years,
Okay.
they know what my skill set is. And we also are part of the FWRA, which is the Florida Wildlife Rehabilitators Association.
Okay.
And so we've learned lots and lots of things along the way from not only other rehabilitators, but other veterinarians, wildlife veterinarians inside and outside of Florida. So we've learned a lot of things along the way as well. But we do have a couple of veterinarians that we work with. Unfortunately, being a nonprofit and a bigger nonprofit, but small in financial means,
Right.
we have vets that do help us, but they are not here on premise
Right.
at this time. We typically have to take them into the veterinarians. But it's been a very long journey, but we have had a
great.
lot of support in that realm, that there's people that just really believe in the work that we do. They've been out here, they physically see what we're doing. And then, you know, we want people to see the proof in the pudding, you know. We
Sure.
don't want them to just go, oh, you guys are a great organization and blah, blah, blah. And when I say, have you ever been there? And they go, no, but you guys are great. And I said, well, how do you know? We do what we say that we do.
That's right.
We want you to come. We want you to see what you're investing in.
Right.
You're investing in us. And you have to know and believe in your heart that we're
Come
doing the
meet
right
us.
thing. And
Right.
please come see what we're doing.
Right.
And this way, we can not only touch their heart more than hopefully we already have, but encourage them to be a long-term supporter, you know, to help us continue to do this work. And if everybody just did something to help,
A little bit.
even just anything, just
Yeah.
something to help someone,
Yeah.
some organization, something, this world would be so much a better place.
Absolutely. All right, Debbie. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much
And
for the
let's
opportunity.
let's go see what you.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
show
go.
me around.
All right.
Okay, great. Back to Nature serves over 3,000 animals per year. Located in the Lake Nona area on 20 acres of Orange County conservation land that is managed by the Environmental Protection Division. Their mission is to rescue, raise, rehabilitate, and release injured or orphaned Florida native species, and to provide education about respecting and preserving the environment through their non-releasable permanent residents known as educational ambassadors. This is a wonderful group of animals, folks, that I had the pleasure to get up close and personal with. And Executive Director Debbie Helsel was incredibly helpful and knowledgeable about each one of these animals, as well as any of the wildlife species in the Florida region. The Refuge is staffed by 3 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee, as well as a host of volunteers and interns. I met a few of these volunteers. They were awesome people, and the staff couldn't have been nicer. These folks were in there busy the whole time I was there, tending to the animals. here are some of the animal celebrities, aka the ambassadors, that you'll see at the Back to Nature Wildlife. Wildlife pet trade and exotic sales are a big issue in Florida. Because of the higher temperatures year-round, it's easier to take care of these animals until they get big enough or you realize that you can handle them, at which point some folks do the worst case scenario is they just dump them in the side of the road or out in the woods somewhere or in the water. Fortunately, the folks at Back to Nature is an organization that accepts these animals and raises them. The ringtail lemur is one of the most recognizable lemurs due to its long black and white ring tail. Like all lemurs, it's native to the island of Madagascar. It is omnivorous and the most terrestrial of all lemurs. The animal is diurnal, being active exclusively in the daylight hours. The ringtail lemur is highly social, living in groups of up to 30 individuals. To keep warm and reaffirm social bonds, groups will huddle together. Like other lemurs, this species relies strongly on its sense of smell and marks its territory with scent glands. As one of the most vocal primates, the ringtail lemur uses numerous vocalizations, including group cohesion and alarm calls. These three lemurs here are all siblings. They came to Back to Nature in April of 2008. The mother was a victim of the wildlife pet trade, and these were the three results of the captive breeding. Their names are Wimsa, Honey Bear, and Thumbelina. Very domesticated at this point. They're beautiful animals. Beautiful animals. During the winter months, lemurs will often be seen sunbathing during the warmest part of the day. This is Oliver, the bobcat. Oliver arrived to Back to Nature in April of 2009 when he was just 2 weeks old. He was found on a 100-acre parcel of Osteen, Florida. The owners of the property were mowing and accidentally destroyed a mother bobcat's den. The mother bobcat ran off and her two babies were left inside. The citizens waited 24 hours for the mom to return. When they checked back in the den, Oliver's sibling had passed away. At that point, it was necessary to remove Oliver from the den and take him to the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. Because Oliver was raised from a baby, he was given a stuffed animal as a play toy as a youngster. He has two of them, Bear and Lion. And as you can see in this picture, he still loves to play with Bear. Oliver is one of two bobcats that live in the Back to Nature Refuge. The bobcat is an adaptable predator that inhabits wooded areas, as well as semi-desert, urban edge, forest edges, and swampland environments. It persists in much of its original range, and populations are healthy. It ranges from southern Canada to northern Mexico, including most of the continental United States. It has distinctive bars on its forelegs and a black-tipped, stubby tail for which it gets its name. What brings a person to want to do this type of work?
Generally, and for me, I think it's just a love of animals.
For love of animals, obvious. But to put all your time and effort into all this work, it kind of becomes second nature to you.
Yeah, it's nice to help out, and this is something I got into when I was younger, and I got the chance when I was a kid in England to help out with domestic shelter, and I was looking to get an experience with local wildlife because it fascinates me.
Sure.
Here, so.
And what a better place.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is great. I'm seeing so much. I'm learning a lot. Debbie's very knowledgeable.
Incredible. Yeah.
And she's got great staff, as you can see. But so what are you all doing now?
So we're just about to feed the lemurs.
Okay.
We've been doing kind of all the animals on the side of the park today.
And this is a routine that you do every day, several times a day?
This is every day. They usually get fed and cleaned out.
Okay.
And they'll get enrichment, and they'll get some socialization, or something to play with.
What was the purpose of trying to come here and work and volunteer here? What was the draw?
Well, ever since I was little, I've been wanting to be a veterinarian, so I'm studying for that.
Okay.
And I've been trying to search what type of animals do I want to focus on, and I did an internship at a small animal park, and I fell in love with wildlife. I was like, oh my God, I want to keep doing this.
So how did you find find this?
One day I was just searching on Google places in Orlando for animals and internships and volunteer, and I found this place. And I found out it was just 10 minutes away from my house, and I was like, this is amazing because I can be there every day if I can. Like,
sure.
It's very close.
And I love all that food. That's the food that these lemurs are going to get?
That's right. Yeah,
goodness gracious. That's quite a diet. That's a good diet.
Yeah, they eat better than we do.
Yeah, I can see. Well, thank you both for talking with me. I appreciate it. Keep up the great work. You're doing an outstanding job. And I can't thank you enough for caring so much for these animals. Nigel, the Sherman's fox squirrel. Boy, was that the coolest thing. You know, I'm a big squirrel fan, but when I saw this Sherman's fox squirrel, I got even more excited about squirrels. First of all, it's about 3 times the size of a normal squirrel. It's big. It's a huge squirrel. This one, though, Nigel, happened to be blind, and that's why he was a permanent resident and a wildlife ambassador for Back to Nature. And they were just taking care of this guy. He was the king. He had it made, that's for sure. Nigel arrived to Back to Nature back in April of 2007. He was found unconscious at about 1 to 2 years old after being electrocuted by a transformer in the Lake Mary neighborhood in Seminole County, Florida. The electricity entered his left front paw and exited his right rear leg. His front paw was so severely damaged by the electrocution that it required surgery and amputation.
Nigel.
Nigel was brought back to nature shortly after his amputation for further care. However, because he is missing a limb, Nigel was not a candidate to be returned to the wild. That's such a beautiful tale. The Sherman's fox squirrel is a Florida native species listed under special concern. The squirrel's total body length measures 17.7 to 27.6 inches. Tail length is another 7.9 to 13 inches, and they range in weight from 1 to 3 pounds. Sherman's fox squirrels is found in open piney wood or central and northern Florida. Habitat destruction is a great threat to these squirrels, resulting in a major decline in population. They can live 8 to 9 years in the wild, 10 years in captivity. We're here at Back to Nature. I'm with a longtime supporter here at Back to Nature. Her name is Heather. What makes you want to support the wildlife? Not necessarily Back to Nature. I know you're a big fan of Back to Nature, but in general, supporting wildlife and helping them. What inclines you to be so protective for these animals?
I mean, I just think the wildlife is critical and crucial to us and to our earth, and I love them. I mean, it's not just about the domestic pets, who I love as well, but the wildlife offers beauty. It offers, just part of the ecological chain and the chain of life. And so for me, it's important to keep them as healthy as we can, as well as ourselves. So
Absolutely. Now, Back to Nature, this is my first time here. You're a longtime supporter of Back to Nature. What was it about Back to Nature that really made you fall in love with such a place like this, and the staff, which I can already tell is amazing staff. So
they're amazing. I can't even remember the first animal that I found. And I was looking desperately for a place that would take wildlife, and found Back to Nature. At that point, they were out in Bithlo in this tiny little space, and I went in with them, and they were so caring and so considerate, and you could tell from the moment they opened whatever it was, I had whatever box or something, that they cared about the animal, and I knew right then that they were in really good hands. And from that point on, anytime I found an injured animal, I mean, I've had turtles, I've had the flying squirrels, I've had, you name it, I've brought it in. And every time it's with the same delicate care and attention that you just know.
And it seems to me also, Heather, that when you come here, not only do you find a place where you feel you're getting the animal help, but it seems like you're also getting a little bit of an education.
Absolutely.
I mean, just from the short time that I've been here so far, we talked a lot of educational stuff.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine, whether you're young or old, you're getting valuable information. And when it comes to wildlife, it's always interesting.
Absolutely.
Wildlife's everywhere, and it's important that we support them by being kind and helpful when we can. Heather, I really thank you for taking a moment to speak with
You're
me.
welcome.
And I encourage folks, again, no matter where you are, to get involved in your local town with your local rehabilitation center, or if you want to do wildlife rescue, there are places out there that can train you. There are a lot of educational opportunities out there for folks, and I just encourage you all to get involved. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing, and it makes you feel wonderful, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
it does. All right, thanks, Heather.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate
Thanks so much.
it.
No
Okay,
problem.
Bye-bye. But another interest, and it's because back on Long Island we're seeing a comeback of the bald eagle.
Oh, very awesome.
And it is very awesome.
Well, hopefully you see ours in our nest today.
Well, that would be nice, but can you tell us a little bit about that? You have a eagle roosting program here that seems to be doing quite well, and I'd like you to just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, the property is actually called Eagle's Roost. And so we have eagles that are actually nesting between us and Split Oak, which is where the hiking trails are.
Okay.
They're nesting there. They actually built that nest while we were building our facility to move in, and they sat in the pine trees and actually watched us the entire
amazing.
time. And the super amazing thing is that that first year when they built that nest, the morning after we moved here, the babies came out of the nest for the very first time. So, you know, for me, if that's not divine saying all is in order, I don't know what else is.
Thanks, folks, and I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I hope you enjoyed meeting the folks at Back to Nature in Orlando, Florida. I can't thank them enough, and hope that if you're in the area and you look them up, to please give them a visit. They're wonderful folks, and they have so much to offer to anyone that comes by and checks out what they're doing over there. It's amazing. And if you live in the area, gee, there's a volunteer opportunity for you, without a doubt. And that goes for the folks here. We have a wonderful organization as well at Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center. They're always looking for wonderful volunteers that can be dedicated in helping these animals. That's very important. It's without the volunteers and these wonderful people at these organizations, these animals don't have much of a chance. And we're fortunate to have Evelyn Alexander, just like the folks in Orlando are fortunate to have the folks at Back to Nature. It's a beautiful thing what these people are doing to protect our wildlife. And you can protect them too, folks, by not littering. That impacts our wildlife. Another thing is to not feed the animals what they're not used to eating. Like down at the nature trail, we don't want to feed our ducks bread. Bread's not good for them. They're used to eating aquatic greens, so you can cut up some lettuce perhaps, maybe throw in some peas, not bread. Another way you can help is not to release balloons into the air, because they got to come down sometime, and they usually come down and get caught on birds or our marine mammals. So there are things that you can do, folks, to protect the wildlife yourself. The animals are always in need, so it's kind of overwhelming. So every little bit you can help helps us in the big picture. Thanks to the folks at Back to Nature in Orlando, Florida, and thank you, my fans of Imagination Nature, and we'll see you in the next episode very soon. Thanks.